If you've ever cracked open a company's annual report, you know it's a lot. It can feel like you're trying to decode some ancient secret language. But what if you could just ask an AI to find the numbers for you? Today, we're going to find out if large language models are actually ready to be your new financial analyst. I mean, just look at a typical annual report. It is a sea of numbers, these incredibly dense tables and footnotes inside of footnotes. For a person, pulling out just one specific number can take, well, forever. The big promise of AI is that you could just ask a simple question and boom, get an instant, accurate answer. But is that how it really works? All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the big challenge here. Then, we'll see how researchers put today's top AI models through their paces. We are going to find out where they really stumble and then explore some new methods for getting much better answers. We'll also see how you can teach an AI to be a reliable judge. And finally, we'll take a peek at the future of AI in finance. Okay, so let's set the stage. In one corner, you have the annual report, this beast of a document that's absolutely critical to understanding a company's health. And in the other corner, you've got this powerful new AI technology. You know, these things are dense for a reason. They're packed with everything from balance sheets to income statements, all jammed into these complicated tables. Trying to pull data out by hand is not just slow, it's so easy to make a mistake. It really can feel like you're searching for a needle in a haystack. And this is where LLMs are supposed to ride in and save the day. We're talking about the models that power tools like ChatGPT. They are built to understand plain English, which makes them seem perfect for just asking, hey, what was the revenue last year? And getting a simple answer. So that really raises the billion-dollar question. Does the reality actually live up to all the hype? Well, to find out for real, a group of researchers set up a pretty tough experiment. They didn't just want to see if the AI could answer questions, they wanted to see how accurate it was in a real-world scenario. So here's how they set it up. They took 3 different kinds of LLMs, a general powerhouse like ChatGPT-4, another one that was custom-built with financial know-how, and a tool specifically designed just to read PDFs. They fed them 3 actual annual reports from big companies and ran a whole battery of 180 different tests to see what would happen. And they didn't just lob it softball questions either. The questions went from easy stuff, like just looking up the revenue, to medium difficulty questions that might use different words for the same thing, like personnel costs. And then they hit it with the difficult questions, ones that require the AI to do math, like calculating the return on equity, which you can't just find sitting on the page. So let's get to the juicy part, the results. You'd think the AI would do pretty well, right? Well, the findings were not exactly what anyone expected. Get ready for this. 31.11%. That's it. Across all 180 tests, the AIs only got the right answer about a third of the time, just 31%. For a technology that's supposed to be a game changer, that is a shockingly low number. And when you look at the full breakdown, you really see how big the problem is. Over 2/3 of the answers were just flat out wrong. Semi-correct, where the AI kind of got close but needed a human to fix it, was barely even a factor. For any serious financial task, a 68% failure rate is, well, it's a total disaster. This is such a great way to put it. The LLM is like a super smart intern on their first day. It's incredibly fast and it sounds so confident when it gives you an answer, but it just doesn't have the experience to handle the tricky, nuanced world of financial reports. It literally doesn't know what it doesn't know. So why did it get things wrong so often? Well, the researchers found a few key culprits. The models got totally confused by the layouts of the tables, sometimes grabbing numbers from paragraphs instead of the actual tables. They tripped up on synonyms and just couldn't reliably do the math for things like ROE. Bottom line, they're built for language, not for the kind of structured logic you find in a financial table. Okay, so the performance right out of the box is pretty bad. But that is not the end of the story. The next big question for the researchers was, can we actually force the AI to be more reliable? See, a big part of the problem is that LLMs give you this conversational, unstructured answer. Basically, a messy paragraph. But what analysts really need is structured data, something clean and predictable like a table or a JSON file that you can just plug into other software. This isn't just about being neat, it's about being reliable and being able to check the work. To fix this, researchers came up with a really clever trick called Generate and Organize. Instead of asking for the final answer in one shot, they do it in 3 steps. First, they let the AI generate its usual messy paragraph. Then they tell it to clean up its own answer. And finally, they instruct it to organize that clean information into a structured table. What this really does is it forces the AI to check its own homework. It has to look at its own output and review it before spitting out the final clean answer. And this simple generate and organize method makes a huge difference in the accuracy and reliability of the data you get. Now, if we're coming up with new ways to make AI better, we also need better ways to measure that improvement. How do we really know if one method is better than another? How do we build trust in these systems? And this brings us to a really cool, newer idea, using an LLM as a judge. Instead of relying on old statistical scores that are frankly terrible at capturing meaning, this approach uses a powerful LLM, like GPT-4, to act as the evaluator. You give it a really clear set of rules, a rubric, and then you ask it to judge the quality of another AI's answer. And this is a huge step up. An LLM judge can understand the meaning and the nuance behind an answer, not just if it contains the right keywords. You can give it complex, custom instructions for pretty much any task, and its judgments end up being way closer to what a human expert would say. It's just a smarter way to evaluate these smart systems. So when that LLM judge is on the job, it's looking at a few key things. First, faithfulness. Is the AI just making stuff up, or is its answer actually based on the document? Then, answer relevancy. Did the AI actually answer the question that was asked? And finally, correctness. Is the information factually right? These are really the pillars of any trustworthy AI system. Okay, let's bring this all home. We've seen the incredible promise, the surprising failures, and now the path toward making these tools reliable enough for really complex financial work. So here's the big takeaway. LLMs are incredibly powerful, but they are not magic. You can't just plug one into your financial workflow and expect it to work perfectly. To make them truly reliable for critical jobs, you need smart engineering. Things like structured prompting, self-correction methods, and really tough evaluation, using things like an LLM as a judge. And this all leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to chew on. We've seen that today's AI isn't quite ready to take on the high-stakes, super detailed job of an accountant, so it makes you wonder, what other professions rely on that deep, nuanced level of trust and accuracy that we just haven't figured out how to automate yet?